Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze.
Today we're going to learn about Benjamin Banneker. If you haven't heard of him before, or maybe you have, but you don't know fully his biography. This is brought to you by biography.com. Shout out to them. Thank you. Benjamin Banneker was a largely self-educated mathematician, astronomer, compiler of almanacs, and writer. Benjamin Banneker was born on November 9, 1731, in Ellicott's Mills, Maryland. A free black man who owned a farm near Baltimore, Banneker was largely self-educated in astronomy and mathematics. And for those of you who don't know, back in that time, that is quite the achievement. Not just being free and recognized as free, but owning his own farmland. Many blacks who were farmers had their farms taken. They would buy land, and white people would come in and take their farms by force and simply take up the farm and work it, and after a while they would get the deed to the farm. Just a little side note. But anyways, he was later called upon to assist in the surveying of territory for the construction of the nation's capital. He also became an active writer of almanacs and exchanged letters with Thomas Jefferson, politely challenging him to do what he could to ensure racial equality.
In the letter that Benjamin Banneker wrote to Thomas Jefferson, he acknowledged that he was of the African race and a free man. He recognized that he was taking a liberty writing to Jefferson, which would be unacceptable considering, quote, the almost general prejudice and prepossession which is so prevalent in the world against those of my complexion, unquote. Banneker then respectively chided Jefferson and other patriots for their hypocrisy, enslaving people like him while fighting the British for their own independence. Jefferson quickly acknowledged Banneker's letter, writing a response. He told Banneker that he took, quote, the liberty of sending your almanac to Monsieur de Condorcet, Secretary of the French Academy of Sciences, because I considered it as a document to which your whole color had a right for their justification against the doubts which have been entertained of them, unquote. Banneker published Jefferson's letter alongside his original piece of correspondence in his 1793 almanac. Banneker's outspokenness with regard to the issue of slavery earned him the widespread support of the abolitionist societies in Maryland and Pennsylvania, both of which helped him publish his almanac. Benjamin Banneker's most popular almanacs are his true acclaim. However, what came from his almanacs, which were published for 6 consecutive years during the latter years of his life between 1792 and 1797. These handbooks included his own astronomical calculations as well as opinion pieces, literature and medical and title information, with the latter particularly useful to fishermen. Outside of his almanacs, Banneker also published information on bees and calculated the cycle of the 17-year locust. And for any of you guys who know much about farming, locusts can be a huge issue. So charting and documenting the locusts, I'm sure helped all farmers who have to deal with the locust problem. Unfortunately, Benjamin Banneker had never married. He continued to conduct his scientific studies throughout his life. By 1797, sales of his almanac had declined, and he had discontinued publication. In the following years, he sold off much of his farm to the Ellicotts and others to make ends meet, continuing to live in his log cabin. On October 9, 1806, after his usual morning walk, Banneker died in his sleep, just a month short of his 75th birthday. In accordance with his wishes, all the items that had been on loan from his neighbor, George Ellicott, were returned by Banneker's nephew. Also included was Banneker's astronomical journal, providing future historians one of the few records of his life known to exist. On Tuesday, October 11th, at the family burial ground, a few yards from his house, Benjamin Banneker was laid to rest. During the services, mourners were startled to see his house had caught on fire, quickly burning down. Nearly everything was destroyed, including his personal effects, furniture, and wooden clock. The cause of the fire was never determined. Now, in my opinion, does it have anything to do with George Ellicott? Who knows? Benjamin Banneker's life was remembered in an obituary in the Federal Gazette of Philadelphia and has continued to be written about over the ensuing 2 centuries. With limited materials, thanks to that fire, having been preserved related to Banneker's life and career, there's been a fair amount of legend and misinformation presented. In 1972, scholar Silvio A. Bedini published an acclaimed biography on the 17th century icon, The Life of Benjamin Banneker, the first African-American man of science. I'm sorry, but the title of that book is incorrect. He wasn't the first African-American man of science. But I'll continue. A revised edition appeared in 1999. I hope under the revision they changed the title of the book. But the reason why I said I wonder if George Ellicott had anything to do with it, if you can put 2 and 2 together, like most people can, a lot of his effects were given to him based upon loans from his neighbor George Ellicott. And I'm sure when he saw some of his works, as it happens many times, things go missing, i.e., just look at Nikola Tesla. Alright, ladies and gents, that was Benjamin Banneker. Feel free to research him more and learn a little bit more about this amazing historical black man. Feel free to like, share, or subscribe. Thank you. Take care.
From the poplar trees